Welcome to Caffeine Confessionals. This is the Double Agents Episode 3 podcast recap. My name is Alan Aguirre. This is my podcast partner, the lovely, the Canadian, the holly jolly Miss Nikki Sin.
Hello, everybody. I know I'm like so festive. For like those that are just listening, I have like my Christmas tree behind me. Got my little, I think this is a festive hat. There's a pom-pom on top, whatever. It's as good as it gets for me.
Yeah, I really phoned it in. I mean, I took these two ornaments off my tree and put them on my ears.
I love it.
And
It
now I'm
goes
going
with
to
like
take,
the festive shirt.
yeah, and now I'm going to take them off because they're really bugging me. And I have my earphone in my ear as well as this, so every time it clanked against the inside of the earphone, I could just, hear it in the inside of my brain.
Oh,
It's
I
not
had
fun.
that. I was shooting a different podcast, an interview, where I
Hmm.
was just like a guest last week, and I had my hoops on, but it kept like clanging against my headphones, and I was like, okay, I can't move. But now it looks weird because I'm like stuck in time.
No, putting those ornaments on my ears made me realize like I got some pretty like big ears, and I was like I got self-conscious doing it.
All the better to hear my opinions with.
So, how did you feel about this episode?
I loved it. I know it sounds like I said that last week with last week's episode, but like we had so much drama, and like I felt like the daily challenge, which obviously we're going to get into a bit later, was it was so different from the other stuff they've done. Oh, Ghostlight is back. I love
Yes, it is.
Ghostlight.
I agree. I really enjoyed this episode because there was a through line of it. Like there was just you were always engaged, you were always following something.
Yeah.
It never felt like there was any dead air this episode. At the same time, I do worry that there are characters who are on the sidelines a little bit too much this season,
I
where we're
agree.
not seeing them at all. Even the editing, where the player who got eliminated this episode, it didn't feel like the editing of an episode of like a player who's getting eliminated.
Yeah, it
It,
wasn't like the losers edit.
yeah, which is good sometimes, but other times I feel like it's needed.
Oh, I agree. There's two Ambers on the show. I can't even get a little bit of one. I
No,
keep forgetting they're there.
I posted the meme on Twitter last week where it's like SpongeBob watching the commercial, and you could see the corner of his head in the commercial. He's like, "Look, there I am," and that's like the Ambers watching Double Agents, and it was hilarious because they both retweeted it like within like 5 minutes of each other.
As they should. It's funny. Because I like keep forgetting that certain people are on the show, and I'm like, right, I've been like rooting for them.
I think the biggest person like that this season for me is probably Michi because every time he's on screen, I like his energy a lot, and then I'm like, wait, oh yeah, you're on the show.
I kind of thought he would get more of like a Playboy edit because it seemed like in like I think it was either the launch episode or the first episode where he was like flirting with Anissa and Ashley.
Yeah, I mean, apparently he has something going on with Amber M this season that isn't even being shown.
Well, I want to see two hot people hooking up. That's
I, I
what do you
also
think
want to see.
reality TV is for?
Yeah, there's such a lack of good people hooking up on the internet these days. It's just, it's criminal.
Yeah, get them on there. I want to see it.
On to actually breaking down the episode. We opened up with Kyle being fiery from Elimination. He is
Hey, Kyle.
basically cursing out Fessy, telling him he's lame as hell, that he made a bad choice. He announces that he's like now on Wes's side of the house, which is a bad side of the house to take, but he's
Yep.
angry and he's engaged. And when Kyle's trying, I love him on the show.
This is a Kyle Stan account. I'm gonna say it. I like Kyle. I think he's like great TV. I think he's a great competitor. I think he's incredibly like underrated. I think he gets the naughty like party person edit, and you're like, okay, well they can't really compete, and then when they show up, they show up. And like I don't know, I just this is a Kyle Stan account. I'm gonna say it again.
I
I really
fully
liked how he was like, okay, let's go drinking after he won. He should have called Fessy out. It was right that he called Fessy out because last week Fessy was like, I'm only going in to get my gold skull if it's something physical. If I see like a ring or if I see like a hall brawl, I'm going in. And then
Exactly.
it's very
Exactly.
obvious it was physical. That was not a puzzle.
Oh,
Like
Ghostlight back.
the welcome back, Ghostlight.
Yeah,
The third host.
with Fessy, it was funny because he explained the twist that he could see the votes, which after 2 episodes, I think people should figure out.
Yeah.
It's not a big shocker for him to say it by episode 3. However, he did out Corey and Nelson as voting for Wes, and it's funny because Kyle calls them the stupid brigade.
Which is brilliant in my opinion.
Yeah, and nothing is funnier than Wes being like, "Wait, the whole stupid brigade voted for me?" Because he said it was such a like a hurt, like all 3 of the stupid brigade, all my friends voted me in.
What made me like a little confused is I didn't realize that Corey and Wes were so close.
They are aligned every season they do, every single one, all the way up to like the Champs versus Stars, and it's one of those things where it's just always like a secret, like we are aligned, but we are not telling anyone. We will not target each other. We will always somewhat look out for each other.
I don't know. I feel like it's just like never shown in editing. I never thought of the two as friends. And like, I think of Wes and Leroy as friends because they've they've both been on the show for so long.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where like Wes has just always really liked Corey. He just thinks he's great TV. Uh, Back on
Yeah.
Rivals 3, there was the time where Corey was Wes's secret number 1, number 2 team, and then that spot got blown up by Nicole Ramos. And then you had, I think it was Champs versus Stars, where people were like, "Why is Corey on this season? Why he's not a champion?" And Wes is all like, "Hey, you hook up with 3 girls in one season, that makes you a champion on the challenge." And they've done like stuff where they interviewed the real world cast together. Wes has done, I think he's done like some work with Beta Blocks for Corey to like help him out with his like
Okay.
PR and stuff. And they just have always been friends. Like I saw photos of them hanging out like on a season like when Wes wasn't even on the show, when he was taking his break.
I guess they're both like big faces of MTV because Corey's been on, almost every show except for Ridiculousness on the network. So
Yeah.
and
So
he's about due to be on that show too.
Nelson is in many ways like, a poor man's Wes in terms of like what he wants to do. Uh
Out.
like he's good at eliminations. He wants to make political plays. Just doesn't have the skills. Doesn't have the skill set to.
Oh, but he tries.
He does, and he's hilarious, and I love Nelson, and I love Wes. But yeah, it was just funny because his voice when he said the whole stupid brigade.
All of you? All of you? Oh.
It's just genuine hurt because it's like, man, my friends did that. At least tell me.
Yeah, and then it's like I guess because I'm not on the show, but I don't know when it would be a good opportunity to just be like, "Hey, listen, man, I just went and voted. I had to vote for you. This is why. It helps my gameplay, which in the end is the most important to me." Like, when is there a good opportunity? Because I don't really know what the timeline is like. Like, I don't know if they vote and then immediately, the double agents get to go see it, and then like an hour later is elimination or what the whole deal is. So I wouldn't
Yeah,
know when to tell the person.
it's interesting that Wes decides that all right, we're now gonna vote for Corey in this next elimination.
Didn't I'm gonna be honest, it didn't really make any sense to me.
I mean, I think the move is you have to go for Fessy because Kyle also hates Fessy, and I guess you could align more people against that Big Brother side. But I think his thinking was that the Big Brother side is too strong to go against, so might as well target Corey because he's on the outside of that. Again, it didn't really make full sense, but it
No.
was a good opening to the episode and just funny interactions all around.
Yeah, and I think you really got to see how quickly the alliances can switch up. Like especially if you're a newer viewer to the show, you don't understand like how quickly somebody's like, okay, this is my ride or die, and And then, like half a scene later, they're like, I hate you. Throwing drinks in their face, ready to throw them into elimination. It's nice to see that the rookies just get to kind of sit back, though.
Yeah, the rookies are just like wondering like what the hell is going on this season
They're
because
coasting. I love it.
yeah, they're just playing the middle. Next, we had the daily challenge, which was players wrestling on top of a giant semi truck, trying to knock their opponent off the side. Once you knock your opponent's feet off the side of it, uh, the player that stays on longer wins.
Let's note,
And
no harnesses.
no harnesses.
Whew.
I mean, I think harnesses would have made this more difficult or dangerous because how would a harness work for this?
Yeah, you like fling off the side of the truck. That sounds far more terrifying. There were nets, however.
Yeah, there were nets
Just,
on the side. I'm like, you don't actually like fall off and die. You don't that doesn't happen.
but the
You
way that
you have a safety net.
Well, the way that TJ presented it, he was like, if you don't fall into the net, you could be roadkill, because it was called roadkill or something. And so I thought there was nothing on the opposite ends of the truck where the nets weren't. And then I noticed that there was like a big wall, and I was like, okay, because it had me terrified. Whenever I watched this show, I'm like, I wonder if I could do this. I really feel like I could.
Yeah.
I'm spunky like that. But when I
MTV is like, yeah, if you fall off, we're getting a huge lawsuit against us.
if you fall off, you're dead. I was like,
Your family's gonna get a nice payment towards them.
yeah, we don't have to pay an appearance fee because you didn't fulfill your end of the contract because you died. So
And
I loved this though. This was such a good daily challenge. I think it would be a great elimination too.
this daily challenge is why they keep headbangers to only eliminations generally, because there were two injuries, and that's bound to happen when you have 28 people wrestling. Like it's
Yeah,
gonna happen. If you anyone who's played like a football game knows that like someone's gonna get like turn an ankle, someone's gonna pull something. It's gonna happen when you have that many people doing that. I mean, they could have made it a little bit safer by padding the semi truck a little more.
they
But then
did.
you have an injury like Liv's, which is just like the trampoline injury where you like hit your elbow right here going the wrong way, and
Yeah,
that's just something that's gonna happen when you fall.
I felt so bad for her because it's not like she got hurt like in the middle of like the fight. I don't want to call it a fight.
Yeah.
In the middle of the wrestling match between her and her opponent, like she got got knocked off by Tori and then was hurt inside of the net, and then you still have to keep like move like you're in a net on a moving truck. You're
Maybe they
essentially in a
could have
giant
done
hammock and like still probably injuring yourself.
maybe they could have done like a styrofoam pit.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have been the solution. I don't know. As a whole though, it was very cool to watch, and it gave us like a lot of insight into these players' abilities, except it was just dangerous. And it's why you keep
Incredibly.
headbangers to eliminations.
I you know, I had Jay's reaction when I saw it. I was like, yes, yes, let's do it, because you want to see them do these headbangers every once in a while. Like I get excited when it's the really physical daily challenges, as excited as I get when it's the trivia challenge.
At
No,
first, I thought it was going to be underwhelming.
oh, same, because I was like, okay, they're gonna have a bunch of like restrictions when doing it, and I thought that like when I first saw it, I thought the double agents, I thought Fessy and Nisa were gonna get to like choose who goes against who, because often they'll have like the last week's daily challenge winners choose the order in which people go in, but TJ was like, no, it's gonna be random. I was like, okay, this is
It does look a bit like they did maybe pick partners or pick the opponents, even though they said it was random, because
it did
none of
not
the
look
Big
random
Brother
to me.
players are facing the Big Brother players.
No,
It Yeah, it looks like all of Fessy's allies are facing people that are not against each other. Then again, maybe if they were facing each other, they would have just let each other throw themselves off the top so they could get power team immediately.
yeah, I wouldn't have wanted to see anyone throw this challenge. I would have been I would have been pissed off about that.
I agree.
But they got some teams against each other, and a lot of people surprised me.
Agreed. The first round was Cam and Kyle versus Nicole and Devin. Devin with a surprising tie against Kyle, which is that's good for him and a disappointing tie for Kyle.
Oh, absolutely. And Kyle's just come out of this like this win and he's got all this energy about it and he's like, yeah, like screw you, Bessie, screw everyone who's working with Bessie, screw everybody. And then ties with one of the most mediocre players in the house. You know, but I did, and I'm gonna regret saying this as it's being recorded. I didn't hate Devin this episode.
No, I didn't either. I mean, it's a good tie for him and a bad tie for Kyle at the same time, and it's hilarious how it works that way because like you should view the two as the same, but like I don't, and because of
No,
that, I'm proud of him. On the other side of things, Nicole Zenyatta tears her shoulder or dislocates it. You can see the actual bone
yeah,
popping out, and she didn't look like she was having too many problems. It looked more like she went to grab Cam real fast, and all that energy and athleticism, just like her bone popped out, like just shoulders
yeah,
completely popped out of place. And what was funny to me was that she was like, "Wait, Cam, stop, Cam, stop," and
yeah, because she kept yelling time, and I was like, "What do you?" So I thought she was yelling time because like they had like padding or something on, or like something came undone. Something did come undone. It was her shoulder, but
hey, Cam's helmet was off too.
yeah, I was like, "What's go?
What
This
what I
looks
didn't
unsafe."
get is that like once your shoulder pops, if you want to call time, just walk off the side. Just walk off the side and give the person the win. But like unless you clearly say I have a dislocated shoulder, then I don't know
Yeah,
what Cam is supposed to do.
yeah, because Cam is gonna it. What it reminded me of, um, since I'm always throwing shade at Nicole. It reminded me of when you get like tagged in a game and you're like, no, 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 time out, time out, time out, time out. I hurt my leg. I hurt my leg. And they're like, oh, okay. And then you're like, time again. So you can start running. And you're like, it didn't count.
No, in basketball, I'm the master of like the fake out where someone will throw me a pass in my chest and I'll catch it and it'll make a big noise and I'll like take the ball and I'll kind of like go into like a crouch
Oh, you
and people will just like watch me
suck.
and then I'll just be like, all right, and take that. Like now that I'm open, I'm gonna train this shot. And I'm a great shooter, so it's just like if you give me space, it's done. It's done. But yeah,
I
that's what I would have done.
I have no like sports fake outs. I'm sure if this is gonna get wildly taken out of context, which as it should, but I've taken a lot of balls to the face. Like volleyball, I broke 6 pairs of glasses in 1 year of school.
At
I've
that
got like
point, do your parents just start buying you sunglasses?
my parents were just like, maybe you shouldn't wear your glasses during gym. So I decided not to wear them one day, and then I still got hit in the face because I couldn't see. So it really just like wasn't working out for me. It was at that point that I was like, athletically, I'm a runner. Then I joined the trivia team too, and I was like, competitively, this is what I'm gonna do. There'll be no basketball for me.
At that point, you just gotta fake a migraine.
Oh yeah, or depending on what which gym teacher you have, period cramps,
Yeah.
lady problems.
All right.
Sorry, unexplained lady problems.
Next round was Wes and Natalie versus Josh and Nani. Josh, 40 pounds on Wes at least, half a foot on him, and he gets pulled a Jordan on him. Where Wes at the last second pulls Josh down with him
I loved
in a
it.
very Harry Potter Voldemort style, where he's all like, "We're ending this together, Tom." Just how
I
he started.
I understand this reference now. All I've watched for like weeks is just the first 4 Harry Potter films. There's only four. Sorry, Allie Evans, if you're listening to this. There's only four in my head, but I understand this reference now. I'm not a Harry Potter stan, but I do have depression and enjoy watching this as a comfort thing. I loved watching that like one toe.
Yeah,
It was sort of like on Invasion.
yeah, with Amanda running out of the thing.
Yeah, and also when they had that one challenge where they had to hold on to that like side
this
panel that was
platform.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, and Shane took them all down. Oh,
Yeah, it was a very, veteran move by Wes just to see like, oh, here's Josh. He's way bigger than I am. He thinks he could just take me down with ease. I'm just gonna toss him off right here at this moment. And that replay where they
yeah.
just show it and he just keeps it on with perfect precision
That little twinkle
was
toe, like Fred Flintstone. Like,
that's the difference between like a player like Wes and Josh, where like no matter how much time Josh puts in, like training for this show, getting better at this show, that brain stuff where it's just the little things like that where
yeah.
oof, he's just I don't know. At this point he just doesn't have it, it feels like.
I think he also needs to take a break. He's the Big Brother player with the most amount of like appearances on the show, and he just doesn't have anything to show for it yet.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a rough ride for him. I mean, he's improving, but yeah. The Natalie Nani battle was actually very good.
It was
And
so good.
it was one where, to me, the difference was Nani has been on this show for like a decade,
Yeah.
and she's been in pole wrestles and competitions like that where she knows how to kick her legs, throw her elbows at her opponents. And Natalie hasn't. And you could even see Natalie in her confessionals like, I'm way stronger than this girl. I'm way better than this girl. But for some reason, I can't beat her at all. And
I
that's the difference between like a challenge veteran versus a challenge rookie.
I also think Natalie's probably never been in a fight, like a physical fight. It doesn't look like she's ever been in like a bar scrap, a good old fashioned somebody throws a drink at one of your friends and you just I mean, I've never done that, of course. This is
There's a
right
specific
wing,
thing
but I have.
where you're elbowing someone in a face or kicking someone while like you're on the ground that you just don't know how to do it till you're there.
Yep.
And Nani's had experience doing that. She's been doing that since her like mid 20s and now she's in her early 30s and she's like, "Oh, this? All right."
It's as a fellow like tiny girl, it's all about the legs. You wrap the legs and flip them that way.
Nani's not even, I mean, Nani has gotten skinnier in recent years. She used to be a lot bigger, but like yeah, it was a very interesting matchup, and I'm really proud of Nani because even though she lost,
Yeah.
they both went down together, and it was very close.
Yeah. Just overall, because I thought it was going to be like an unfair matchup because I was like, okay, Natalie's just going to take Nani out. She's just going to like pick her up and throw her.
I think everyone who ever faces Nani or competes with Nani is just always shocked.
Yes.
And moving on, the next matchup was Gabby and Leo versus Amber B and Darrell, and you gotta love that MTV gave Amber B the confessional where she's like, "Yeah, I played rugby for 5 years," only to promptly be flung by
Ugh.
Gabby, who is 9 inches shorter than her, in what looked like a pretty like solid win by Gabby.
Yeah, and I thought it was unfair that Gabby didn't get some sort of like winning edit there. They barely acknowledged the fact that like this rookie who, we've only shown her like crying once, like took someone who's been playing rugby for 5 years and was like, yeet.
And
Just
they just flashed the graphic like in 1 second, like Gabby wins. If you like look away, you would have thought Amber won that. You just would
I
have
thought it was
assumed.
I thought it was still going. I was like, oh, okay. Like lean over. I'm like, oh, better get my drink while I'm still going. Like I look up, I'm like, oh, okay. And
Amber is
also,
9 inches taller than her, too.
yeah,
Like that's. Yeah.
it was astonishing. And it's like I feel like Amber and Darrell are like an underestimated team, but they're so quiet. I keep forgetting they're there.
Agreed. I mean, Darrell, he has like a funny comment every week, but this week again was a little underwhelming. He had his matchup against Leo, and Leo just put in a lot of respect for the wrestling community because Darrell's got 50 pounds on him at least.
Yeah,
And he shows that like even though wrestling is scripted, there is a lot of actual grappling to it and a lot of like skill you need to be a good wrestler. And he
yeah.
reverses everything that Darrell puts him in, and they go to a draw.
They really should have had like they should have I feel like the editing team should have done like a full like wrestling match, like sound and everything. I know they played Billy Idol, and I was really excited about that.
Oh
But
God, that was fantastic. I'm a
they should have
huge
had
Billy
like
Idol
a
guy.
same his new song with Miley.
Yeah. Oof.
Oh, I definitely like sobbed when I was listening to it because my dad would have loved it. But I feel like they should have had like a whole like wrestling edit with that. Like it should have been like ding ding ding.
100%. They should have. Yeah, they should have had like the matchups in each
Yep.
corner. Had the intros.
They missed the mark there.
Lost opportunity for sure.
Yeah.
Then it was Lolo and Nam versus Teresa and Jay. And Lolo had the same experience that Natalie did to an extent, where she starts and she's like, whoa, what the hell? This person's throwing shoulders, elbows, everything. And eventually Lolo gets the win, but it was another scenario where it's like, yeah, that's what it's like to be on the challenge and be in a pole wrestle slash a hall brawl, which
Yeah.
Teresa has been. It's been a long time, but she's like, oh yeah, I remember this.
What they should have done, like I feel like Natalie and Lolo maybe should have just watched that X's elimination between Nani and Teresa. That would have been better than I think some of the workouts they probably did. And then I had to watch Nam and Jay go at it. They didn't even
Nam murdered Jay.
Oh, but Nam didn't even get like a confessional for it. I felt bad about that.
It was very much swept under the rug, especially for, two of the three teams that actually won both heats.
Yeah, I felt like they could have shown more.
Yeah. Next was Tori and Corey versus Liv and Michi. Tori beats Liv pretty easily. Liv gets injured on the fall, not actually the wrestling portion, into the net where her elbow hits, the wrong point of the net. And that's sad to see because Liv has been awesome in confessionals and she's gorgeous
Yeah,
and is hilarious.
I think that Liv would really benefit from like taking the experience of like this season and like like hitting the gym, practicing some puzzles, doing things like that, rewatching old seasons, and I think that she could very much just like come back better than ever. Sort of like Jenny's first season.
I agree. I don't know if she'll be obviously because Jenny's whole life is committed to fitness, so it's a little bit different. But I agree. I
Yeah.
think Liv could carve out a nice role on the show.
She could, and
Corey,
she's so
oh my god.
likable.
Yeah, I agree. Corey and Michi. Corey's dominating the whole time, and then Michi pulls the Jordan on him in that he pulls the
Yeah,
West and flips him over at the last second and gets the win.
I loved it. But what I didn't love was Tori being like, "Oh my god, I feel so bad that I hurt Liv." Well, maybe I don't feel that bad, and I was like, "Dude, come on." I was thinking you were like kind of likable. Oh,
Nothing was funnier
Lisa
than
Lynch is
before
like,
the episode, they were like, go Team Ori, which is a
yeah,
joke we made on episode 1. And I
yeah.
was like, wow, that's the worst joke ever. And now they're leaning into it because it's like, oh man, if Tori's making this joke, then I definitely don't want to be making that joke.
I was like, did they hear us?
You're like, I know they filmed this like months ago,
Yeah, but
but
is this some sort of time travel situation? Umbrella
next
Academy?
up was Casey Leroy versus Amber Nelson.
Uh, felt like a weird matchup. They were like, "Hey Casey, here's a human football to throw." Poor
Amber
Amber.
tried though. Amber went at her in that like time period. She just was throwing herself at Casey, was getting some good tackles in, and eventually got nudged off because Casey is a football player and this was made for her and
Yeah.
has 30 pounds on her. So it was pretty easy for Casey. But Amber showed a lot of heart.
Oh, so much. And I think that, again, they could have, shown her more than once on the screen. So I could see how much more heart she has.
Each week, Nelson cuts a confessional next to Amber, where Amber doesn't get to talk but just reacts to whatever dumb stuff Nelson is saying. She's like an adorable. Who's the guy that doesn't talk? Is it which one? It's Penn and Teller. Which one is the one that doesn't talk?
Penn. No, Teller. Oh, I can't remember. I just watched their like whole "You Can't Fool Us" or whatever.
Amber is the one who doesn't talk.
Oh, she's she's so sweet, and she just got into some Twitter beef
With
this
Fessy,
week.
yeah.
Yeah, we love to see it.
Yeah, I love her. I love the energy she brings. I mean, that is the game plan, though. When you're a small girl like that and you're going up against a Goliath, she just tried her best. I mean, she just went at it. That's what you should do. I mean, it
Yeah,
was cool. It was awesome to see.
you fake it till you make it. Anytime I've ever had to come across someone bigger than me, which is everyone, um, I'm like, just fake it till you make. Just pretend that you have any idea what you're doing.
Nelson and Leroy was them both just falling off the side immediately,
Yeah, very
A-
underwhelming.
and Leroy got the win. So good for Leroy.
Leroy's confessional look this week too. That patterned button up.
He's looking good.
Yeah, Cam's dressing him. I know it. I know Cam's dressing him, and I thank her for it because he looks
Big
good.
T, Big T and CT faced Anissa and Fessy.
Poor Big T. No.
I like that she prefaced it like, "Oh, I've never been in a fight before, so let's see how this goes." And then Anissa, just as politely as she can, just like nudges Big T off the
She's
side.
like, ping. It was like watching, when you face the final level in Super Smash Bros. And it's you face the big hand.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the Anissa's the big hand versus whatever character you've chosen. And was just like thrown off the side. The poor thing, but she tried. You can never say that she just like gives up.
She had no clue what she was doing. It was real
Not
sad
a,
to watch.
not a clue.
It was the opposite of Amber, where Amber V is like, "Yeah, I'm undersized, but I'm gonna go for this guy's ankle. I'm gonna go for this person's knee." Big T just didn't have the strategy down at all.
You're like
And
went for
then
a hug,
and then CT Fessy was a draw.
which I also thought was underwhelming. I was kind of hoping to see those two like really go at it. Oh, you're gone again. Ghostlight's really at it today.
Not even Ghostlight. All right. And then CT and Fessy fight to a draw in what was a underwhelming bout.
Oh, I know. I wanted to see more of them. Like, I liked that it was called the like Big Boy Showdown or something. It's very reminiscent for me because we have like in like my friend group, we have some guys that are like built bigger. So whenever they would like DJ together or back to back, we call it the Husky Boy Showdown. So I'm like shouting at the screen, I'm like, yeah, Husky Boy Showdown. And I'm like, right, these aren't the same people.
We then find out the winners of the daily challenge are Leroy and Casey, which is the most boring set of winners there could be.
Come on, like, could something with more like pizzazz, maybe something add a
As
little bit more
much as
spice.
as a West Natalie one would have like just shaken up the game, I would have settled for Nam and Lolo, who were the other top team.
I would have loved to see them like snag a win, and I think that it would have given the two of them a bit more confidence in the game.
Do you think that there should be? I know people don't like the tribunal. I don't like the tribunal when it's like a big team winning, but when they're pairs like this is something where I feel like they should reward the teams for finishing top three because there's no punishment for last place in this game.
No, I agree. I don't like the tribunals when it's like five people in one tribunal, basically just like ganging up on whoever.
Yeah. or it's like a team of 10 where they randomly pick 3 people or 2 people. Those always just mess up the game. But yeah, it does suck because even though Wes and Natalie, I mean, they kind of overcame the odds because Wes had to beat someone 40 pounds bigger than him, and they had to win in general both heats. They're still at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like everything's working against them this season.
In the past, they would do things like this where the top 2 teams would then face each other in a final round, and that would have been exciting.
I would have loved to have seen that.
After the daily challenge, we go back to the house. People are having dinner. They're having some drinks. Not everyone's 100% sober, it looks like.
No, based on their
And
slurring of their words.
CT and Casey get into a little bit of a tiff where CT wants to make an egg quesadilla at the stove. However, Casey is cooking a frozen microwave pizza on the stove. Do
Which
you have
is
any experience cooking frozen microwave pizza on the stove?
I've never personally done that. I did like how this was sort of like Pizzagate 2020. It's similar to when Marie took all those pizzas. Brad didn't get any or something. He was all upset about that. So I did like that like mental throwback for me. But I've never taken a frozen pizza and cooked it like that. I always just put them in the oven. Is that not
I
how?
I went down a rabbit hole because I was like, nobody does that, and I watched like at least 15 YouTube videos of people cooking the pizza on the stove, and my summary is that number one, just cook it in the oven.
Why wouldn't you just put it in the oven? I don't
Number
under. You
two, if you
don't have
don't
to
have an
watch it.
oven, just cook it in the microwave.
Yeah.
Number three, everyone who did cook it on the stove originally put it in the microwave once, then put it back on the stove, then put it back in the microwave, and then back on the stove.
That
So
all
it's
seems
a
like a lot of
very
work.
that's a lot of work, especially in a challenge house. Like maybe when the house gets down to like, I don't know, 16 people, then you make your stovetop pizza. But when there's 26 people trying to eat some dinner and
Yeah.
CT just wants to make his egg quesadilla, I think CT had a valid complaint.
He did. And also, is there just one element on the stove? Like they're all there is whether were they fighting over the frying pan? I didn't it's definitely one of those things that like if I was drunk and in the house, I would definitely like I I would be furious about this probably. But like as a sober person watching from the outside, I'm like, okay.
Michi was making bacon on the other side, I think that's what's going on.
Oh, well, what? Okay.
Well, he can't make it. I mean, could you make bacon in the oven? Is that a thing people do?
Yeah, we do that here. I don't know if that's
Oh,
like strictly a
wow.
Canadian thing, but we a lot of the times, especially, I mean, not now because COVID, but when my friends and I would like go away places when we're, there's at least like 15 of us there that we want to make breakfast for like a large group. We always put the bacon in the oven. You put it on like a sheet.
Wow. Okay. My bad.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to go down a bacon oven rabbit hole of YouTube videos.
Coming up next week on Caffeine Confessionals, bacon.
Then Josh sees this interaction between them. CT goes outside to smoke a cigarette because he does not have an egg quesadilla to munch on. Thus, he must crave his hunger somehow. Josh's like, I don't want to have a falling out with you. And he's
Yes,
like,
you
a
do.
falling out over what? Casey's like, dude, that wasn't even, you weren't even there. That's not even your conversation. Again, valid points.
Inserting himself in for no reason. There was no reason for Josh to be involved in that.
Josh tells him that Casey's inside crying. The second CT hears that, he leaves the conversation to go apologize to Casey like a
Yeah,
rational adult. He apologizes to her. He's like, "Oh, I heard you were crying," and then Casey's like, "What?" And what's funny is that Amber is like standing right next to her, and she has this face on her like, "I've been standing right next to this girl the whole time. Like,
yeah.
no, nobody was crying." And
Which further proves it wasn't that big of a fight.
yeah,
Like
and
it
that
was.
one, Josh is just lying.
He,
Then
he
when he
over
gets
exaggerates
caught,
everything.
he gets caught lying, and then says, "I did not say she was crying."
I never said that. Nope, didn't say it. I'm like,
When
dude, we all saw
when
you.
we the fans physically saw him say it three
Yeah,
seconds earlier,
there
and
was
then
no way that could be
he doubles
misconstrued.
down on it. He didn't need to lie, then doubled down on lying.
Yeah, why didn't he just admit he was over exaggerating? He was like, look, my friend was really upset. I thought you should know like how much it upset her, even though it obviously didn't.
They then get into a screaming battle, and you could tell that CT as a whole is just disappointed, not over the fight, but the fact that he himself in his 40s is fighting with Josh. And you could be
Yeah,
like, you could see in his face, like, man, I remember when I used to get into some really good fights with some people who could go toe to toe with me.
yeah.
He's like, you could see he's like, man, I miss fighting with Coral. Those were the good days.
We believe us. We miss that too. We miss that too. Josh is always like inserting himself in drama he does not have to be inserted in. This has nothing to do with him, unless he was like, "Oh, the pizza was also for me." Don't blame her, just her.
You gotta love Casey being like, yeah, I would defend Josh the same way. Casey,
Oh, no, you
I've
wouldn't.
never even heard your like voice compared to
Right?
Josh's.
No. It's like he's like my brother. I'm like, you weren't even on the same season of Big Brother. What?
It's funny. And then Big T diffuses the situation by hugging CT, and they make a perfect sitcom together. They
Oh,
are
Hawk and
they're
Fluffy
just
Bunny.
so they're just so awesome together, and I love them. Oh man, they're so adorable together.
They decided on those. They're like secret agent names. Just like okay, CT was like, okay, Big T, you're gonna be Hawk. You're just gonna swoop in, and I'm gonna be. And she's like, Bunny. Like, okay, I'm Fluffy Bunny. Okay, the Hawk and Fluffy Bunny show. I'm into it.
It was great because they did that editing with the hawk or the eagle where they show the bird and then they go into the eyeball and it's Big T. And they didn't give CT the same editing. And I
Nope.
think it's because they didn't want to get a call from CT.
Yeah, being like, dude, I've represented the show for years. Why am I a rabbit?
He's like, I'm not going to be fighting with Josh and be edited to look like a bunny in the same episode.
No, it's just not happening. It's me with that BS. No.
What's great is that right when the Josh CT fight ends, Devin is just like, "Oh, Big Brother sucks," which is such a dumb thing to say because it's the exact same thing that people were saying about "Are You the One" like 5 years ago.
But it's what's I like I said, I can't believe it's on record that I liked Devin this episode. I just thought it was so funny because that's definitely something I would do while drunk. Because I would be like mocking the fact that like, Josh is arguing about something so stupid. I'd be like, Big Brother sucks. Because he was like, who said that? I wonder who said that.
It was a very much like she doesn't even go here type joke.
I honestly really liked it. And I think that the Big Brother people are gonna start to realize, like, as they're cast more often, that it's gonna be just like the Are You the One people. They were all, teamed up together
I mean, to me, it's one of
until they realized that it wasn't a great idea.
it's just like they're normalized at this point. They've been integrated. They've been on for 6 seasons now. It's normal.
Yeah.
Devin, because he's been gone for so long, is the only person still making this like oh Big Brother sex joke because he's out of the loop.
Yeah, because no one's told them we're like no one's saying that anymore.
He's like, guys, Big Brother sucks, and he's like twirling the fidget spinner at the same time.
Oh, what makes me like I don't know if I would be saying that, if I wanted to be cast back on the network that also owns Big Brother. Like, wouldn't you?
Exactly. But this fight as a whole felt more like two people on each other's level versus CT and Josh.
Yeah. And Devin claims to be so much smarter and so much better than everyone. I'm like, okay, but you just did the same thing that Josh did, which was insert yourself in, and for what? What do you have to show for inserting yourself into this?
My favorite thing though is that Josh is loud, so like when Josh, because like CT and Casey's fight was very contained, and Josh
Yeah.
inserted himself into that little thing. Josh is yelling, and everyone in the house can hear it. People
Yep.
who are filming The Amazing Race could hear Josh yelling right now.
I heard it. I heard it at home in Canada. That's why I was like so ready to talk about this.
You
Because I
could
was like, oh,
see
I heard it firsthand.
they showed Leo and Nam's face where they're just like, what's going on right now? And Leo, who as a wrestler, his biggest strength is talking. He's a big, speaker slash trash talker. He cuts promos on people. And he's just watching this like, man, this is the worst promo battle ever.
It's the
Because
worst trash talk.
one guy is yelling that I can yell louder than you.
It was all trash, no talk. It was the worst. And Josh is like outside bare feet in what looked like rain on the ground. And Casey's like, man, go inside. Just go to bed.
The Devin Casey fight was really good because Devin only had one security guard and he wasn't really even trying to be held back. He's just smoking a cigarette, like just taking shot. Like he's saying like two things at a time.
If
Like
you
he's
want my
saying like
tracksuit, bro, just say so.
he's saying like five words while Josh is just so angry, trying to like throw hits, has security guards like just holding
So
him back.
funny.
And it was crazy because I don't know. It was just he was yelling at him and the other guy was just so calm.
I
At
really
one
think
point
that's what the challenge has been missing.
Devin keeps asking, "What's 8 times 9?" To which,
I don't think Josh knows.
no, yeah, the weird thing was that he asked him like 4 times, and I thought it was kind of annoying. But at the same time, when someone asks you by like the fourth time, you kind of should say 72 at some point, because now I'm starting to believe that you don't know what 8 times 9 is.
I'll tell you what, I believe that he doesn't know. I am
If
sorry.
Josh just yelled 72, he'd win the argument right there. He would just end it right there. His choice not to and just yell at Devin and say that he's a layup and that he'll destroy him when Josh himself is a career 0-3 in eliminations
Yeah,
and just lost a physical game to someone 40 pounds less than him. It's not a good look.
it's a really bad look. In fact, if we wanted to add more spice to this argument, what I would have liked to seen was if, if our girl, well, my girl, Ashley Mitchell was there, she could have run to tell drunk Nani, like, hey, CT's going after Casey and Josh, who she's tight with both of them. I would have loved it. Her come in with her cup of noodles. Hey, what are we talking about?
No, Nani was right there. She was eating the pizza right nearby.
Where's the cup noodle? Where's cup noodle Nani?
She
I
was eating
want
it.
it.
She was eating the pizza.
She was like, I'm not getting involved in this.
Yeah.
Hard pass. I don't blame her.
Bad look for Josh to like lose to Wes, then lose to CT in that little tiff, get caught lying, and then lose to Devin of all people.
Yeah.
At this point, he needs to call Joseph to see if he can get back on the show. Because he could beat Joseph probably in an argument or a fight, but
You'd be like, bro, I'll
yeah.
give you some mustard.
It's like, do you want fancy? Do you want spicy mustard? What do you want, bro?
Yeah.
I'll get it for you.
A little Dijon?
Ooh.
Honey?
They then follow up this uh, party slash fight at the club, and you can see Devin just have the realization like, yeah, I'm getting voted into elimination.
Yeah. It not a good look. But he in my head made the most sense because Nicole was medically DQ'd.
He has to get the camera time.
Yeah. So Nicole was medically DQ'd. He has no partner. He kind of doesn't, and it doesn't seem like he really has like a huge alliance.
No, not at all. It's just him and Wes, really.
Yeah. And Kyle, who
Yeah.
I think Kyle. I don't know.
They then have the voting ceremony with the little deliberation. Josh and Devin are still calling each other bitches and dumb and whatever and to shut
They're
up.
still going.
One of the things I didn't like though was that Josh said that Devin plays a scared game. And I think you could say a lot of dumb things about Devin. I mean, we've made fun of him in all of our previous
Yeah.
podcasts. He does not play a scared game. I mean, he literally
Oh,
asked to face bananas in elimination before Red Skulls were a thing.
yeah. I
Josh wouldn't even go into elimination with a Red Skull on the line.
oh, it's and I. Why do I feel like that's like a Big Brother move?
It's it's weird. The Big Brother players do like to say these things, just these outrageous things with no context or history.
It's like nothing. Like Fessy's like, I'm not going in unless it's physical. Okay, that's a really good strategy. However, you could have gone against someone that thinks Mustard is going to improve his game.
That's why I miss Paulie because Paulie would say a ridiculous thing every week, and I could write an article about it. He's
Yeah,
like, "Yeah, this is one of the best 3 season stretches in challenge history," and then I was like,
it,
"I got at
it's
least 15 seasons better than this."
it's not though. Check the record. I I do miss that though. I
as
think that's the only thing I miss about Polly.
as the deliberation goes on, Wes announces that he is going to be voting for Corey since Corey voted for him last week, and so on. Devin announces the same, and Tori gets mad. She's like, "Oh, Devin wants to bring back this Devin Tori rivalry from Are You the One Second Chances?" And
Which
MTV
nobody
didn't even
watched.
they didn't even show us like 3 seconds of footage from that season of like Devin beating Corey or anything like that. So you could tell that even MTV was like, yeah, we don't really care about this enough to even bring out the footage.
I don't even know if they have rights to the footage because doesn't Lighthearted Entertainment do Are You the One?
They do, but we've gotten like Big Brother footage before.
Oh, that's true. But and also the only people that watched Are You the One Second Chances. I mean, I watched it.
I
That
thought it
was
was
like
great.
I thought it was a fun show, but it just didn't have any it didn't.
Wait,
Yeah, they were like, okay, it's like The Amazing Race, and I was like, okay, bet, cool. And I'm like, but it's also like this, and I'm like, okay, cool.
it was just funny because like Tori, literally nobody is thinking about this
Not
except for
one,
you.
nope, no one. Tori, my huge rivalry with Devin. You guys know, everyone knows, and I'm like, they don't, they don't. No one thought of this. It was like Wes versus Josh, where Josh is like, we've had this long-standing rivalry. I'm like, I don't even think Wes knows your last name, dude.
It's like, oh yeah, that's Josh Hernandez.
Yeah. Like who? It was silly.
Then
I don't like with the deliberations how people are like, okay, well, I'm voting for this person. Well, that defeats the whole secret part, and I like it better when the deliberations like how Devin started off. He was like, okay, like if you guys want to throw me in, throw me in. Like I get why. I like when it's people that feel like they're threatened, um, sort of defend themselves and like list reasons why they don't think that they should go in. I don't like it when it's immediately like, I'm voting for so and so. Okay, well, I'm voting for you then. Like, okay.
it was a weird game, and I think last week made them believe that by just promptly announcing it, like, oh, I'm voting for Joseph, I'm doing this and that, would flip things, and it just didn't.
It didn't it didn't play out the way I thought it would at all.
I think the votes were, I think 19-5,
All right,
and
bet.
everyone voted for Devin except for Devin himself, Wes, Natalie, Nam, and Kyle, who voted for Fessy and Anissa.
And Nicole Z, who was disqualified, so
Yeah,
didn't even get to vote.
Nicole and Liv didn't vote.
I thought Liv voted.
No, she wasn't in the house yet back.
Oh, she's so cute.
Yep, she's gorgeous. I love her. But yeah, she was not in the house for the vote. Then between the vote and the little time period before the elimination, Wes goes to Leroy. He pitches himself like, "Hey, we're best friends, right? You and I, number one since day one."
Yeah, I know I've come after your challenge best friend Johnny Bananas every season since, you know, before Christ. Um,
I know that we've been
Hell?
long-standing rivals, but we always thought that was the joke. We've really been best friends.
Leroy's like, no.
Because Wes and Leroy did become friends in recent years off the show, but they aren't allies in this game at all.
No. I know. And also, after Cam, sort of orchestrated to have Wes go in week one, why would you think that Leroy would go against his number one?
Wes is just going for the Hail Mary. He feels defeated here, but he's just pitching whatever he can.
Well, he's going to need a little bit more penance than one Hail Mary to make it. I It's the only Catholic school stuff I remember besides the
See,
blatant
in
homophobia.
football, a very far pass is known as a Hail Mary.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's the throw you make at the end of the game when you're gonna lose, and you just throw it as far as you can, hoping that something happens.
All right, I keep up with football in the sense that I'm like, go Saints, and that's really I like the food the most part, like for the most part.
I agree. I like food more than football as well, and I like
Like
football a lot.
I just want to eat nachos and like yell at the screen for something I could never do. I'm like, how could he not make that pass? See how wide open that number that I can't see because I'm blind is? I'm like, what a loser as I'm sitting there in like sweats.
Then the actual elimination happens. Leroy and Casey. Oh wait, my bad. Before the actual elimination, Leroy and Casey have their little double agents meeting where they talk about who they're going to vote in, and they see all the votes.
Which was
And
so boring I forgot.
what's really funny is that they both say they're not going to tell their partner much since the partner swap exists, and they don't want to give them all their info.
But shouldn't you work together in this case?
I just love Casey being like, "Yeah, I'm not going to say much to Leroy because I don't want him to know anything." And it reminded me of her 3 seasons of reality television where it's like, "Yeah, Casey, that's what you do on TV. You don't say anything."
Yeah. Just, take up your number one skill, it seems, and just but like wouldn't you want to feed him different information then? Or like feed him enough that he feels like he can trust you?
It just sucks, man. I hate this partner swap format. I mean, it is fun at times, but we're just rewarding the same teams into making very safe plays, in my opinion. Because even though Wes is a big move at this point, it very much feels like a safe play because it's just going to be the same people over and over again.
I wish that it wasn't every week they got to do the partner swap. It was just some weeks and they wouldn't know when. You know? Sort of
That
just like,
seems that yeah, that seems almost unfair where it'll backfire at some point
yeah.
and we'll complain. I don't know. I think we're just going to complain regardless.
Well, yeah, that's what I do best. Just it's a skill set.
They then choose Wes and Natalie for the elimination. Wes faces Devin in a male elimination. It is a reverse tug of war.
Yeah, I feel like I blanked out when TJ explained it. He was like, okay, go from here to here, and then there's polls, go. And I was like, oh, okay.
It was just very boring to watch because it was two people in the sand just slowly pulling themselves forward. And they were just generally when these eliminations happen, one person takes like a big lead
Yeah.
and you see the other person trying to inch back or just struggling or just trying to keep them from getting to the bell as fast as they can. But because Devin and Wes both ended up really close to their bells, it just felt weird.
Yeah, and then there was that whole point where like Wes was like, I can see in my friend's eyes that he wants this more than I do. Like, could you? Because I know damn well that this confessional was recorded after the elimination. So did you lose?
It's weird because, Wes did play with the right strategy. Anyone who's watched this elimination over the years, that's the strategy. You dig yourself a hole like that,
Yeah.
you bury yourself in. I just don't think it worked because they both ended up so close to the bells at the end, like on their initial run. And my thing was like, are their ropes actually tied together? Because I don't know what's going on. It didn't feel like it.
It was very confusing. Also, why did they have the bells instead of the buttons? I didn't like the buttons. They were too close on the ground to get the button. I like when they're like struggling to ring the bell.
Yeah, it was weird. My thing was like maybe they should have given them a shorter rope on their back so that way they would have been farther from the buttons. It just didn't make sense at all to me.
And did they have to go around the poles?
I didn't know either. It was very
I
confusing because he explained it like that, but it didn't always look like that. It
because it
was
it looked like they just ran a straight shot down the elimination grounds rather than them like having to run in a circle or uh, throughout the poles.
it
Very
was a
confusing.
boring elimination,
Could
and it's a great win for Devin. He's now somehow a career 4-1 in eliminations.
strange. A very strange time. My parents have watched like a few seasons of the show, and during the premiere, my mom's like, "Who's this guy?" I was like, "Oh, it's Devin." She's like, "Who?" It's like, "Oh, he's from Are You the One." She goes, "What is that?" I'm like, "He's also from Are You the One Second Chances." She's like, "I don't know what that one is either." He just hasn't made like a mark on there.
He beat
But just
Bananas in elimination. He owns wins over both Bananas and West now.
he is best known as Marie's ex on Twitter.
He technically beat Zach too.
Yeah, but no one remembered that. I forgot till you just said it.
It's just like one of those things where like he's obviously not as good as his 4-1 stat says,
Yeah,
but
it's
he is
confusing.
4-1 somehow, which is just like you achieved it. Congratulations.
How?
Josh is 0-3 saying you're playing a scared game.
It and people are playing scared games this season. It feels.
Very much. And I don't blame them because I think the strategy isn't go and get a gold school. It's wait for the weakest person to get a gold school
But
and then
that's
try and take their gold school. Because if you have a gold school, you're going to have a target on you because
yeah.
you're only one of 5 people who's going to have them.
But you don't have a lot of chances to get it.
They say that, and then they're going to have like 10 eliminations per gender this season.
Yeah,
Because,
but that's only five per group, right? If you think
no, I
about it
think 10
that
per
way.
gender. Like there's going to be like at least at least 8. I don't know. Because last season there were just as many eliminations as normal.
Yeah, they might have to extend it given that because I thought it was a girls' elimination this week.
It was probably going to be, but then we had 2 injuries go on, which
Yeah,
makes it a good case for making it a guy's day. Plus, the team that got voted in, one of them didn't even have a girl to compete in.
yeah. It would have just been, Devin standing there. Easy elimination win for Natalie up against no one.
She's like, second skull, here we come.
Yeah,
After the elimination, West tells everyone, like, hey, I've never voted my friends into elimination. I've never done this. You don't have to. I've won 2 championships. And I will say this, West has actually never like voted in his friends into elimination really throughout most of his career. I think one of the exceptions, like I think he voted in Avery on X's 2, and that was only because Johnny Riley was in the Bananas camp.
Yeah, and Johnny Riley sucks. That man looks like he smells like old Monster energy drinks and like
So
broken jewel pods.
it's just one of those weird things where like Wes says it and you're like, yeah, Wes, like, yeah, you've never voted your friend into elimination, but you've also saved yourself in favor of having your friends go into elimination.
Yeah, so like, is there much difference between the two? He's like, oh, lying by omission, you know?
Like there's the famous moment where Zach is his number one ally, and then he goes to Leroy and was like, well, if you throw in Zach, I can be your new number one, and you can be my new number one.
That didn't play out for him too well, given this
That played
episode.
well. No, that played out for him well. Oh, I mean that played out for him well in X's too, because Leroy
Yeah.
actually did it and voted Zach in, and then Zach was out, and suddenly Leroy was now under Wes. He he
Uh,
he went to Leroy. He's like, I could be your janitor or your CEO.
Leroy's just been waiting like all this time to get revenge, and he's like, now's my time. I'm throwing Wes in. And I like how Casey was like, yeah, I'm gonna do my partner a solid. I'm gonna vote Wes in too. I'm like, what other choice were you gonna make?
Yeah,
Who
Casey,
else were you gonna throw in?
you're like, I'm throwing in Fessy.
Yeah, like who are you going to vote for?
She's like, CT, I don't give a shit about your egg quesadilla.
Yeah.
Have you ever had an egg quesadilla?
Yeah, I make a lot of things with eggs.
Have you ever had an egg quesadilla?
If you put like I use like scrambled eggs inside of to make like breakfast quesadillas. Because I'm famously allergic to a lot of the things that have large amounts of protein in them. So I can't
Mm.
have like spinach or kale because I'm allergic to them. So I try to incorporate eggs into a lot of my food.
I
Also,
th-
Taco Bell seasoning on everything.
I think eggs. I mean, an egg breakfast burrito or a taco that makes sense to me with like melted cheese on it. But there's something about the thinness of a quesadilla where I don't really like adding eggs to it because it's a different texture.
Really, there's
Yeah,
a lot of like memes going around now where it's like or like TikToks where someone's like that moment when you're eating scrambled eggs and then you realize how gross they are and then you continue to eat them. It's
I
like,
have that moment all the time, especially when they're like cold.
oh, they're and the moment they get cold, I'm like, I don't want this anymore. And I love like room temperature food. That's my
No, it's
strange
one of those
addiction.
things where they get cold and I'll take a slice of bacon and I'll just like grab them together and I'm just gonna eat as much as I can in this one bite.
The fastest that I can get it on that piece of toast and just ram it in. I've now said I've gotten a lot of balls to my face and talking about ramming something into my mouth. So this is really good for my branding.
You're bringing up the male demographic of this show. You're just ranking it up.
Am I Nikki Sin with one N or Nikki Sin with two N's? You be the judge.
After the elimination, Devin picks Tori as his new partner, which doesn't really help him, but
Oh,
annoys Tori, which was hilarious to me because Tori has just not been enjoyable this season very much.
very
Thus, seeing
confusing.
her be annoyed was hilarious.
I but then it's also like what were Devin's options? Like take Nani to like piss off Josh?
He could have took Cam. We could see Cam taken a second time.
Why wouldn't he take Lolo? I don't understand. Sorry, that's
The,
I'm
these
gonna
female
have that no more.
partners are almost not helpful in such a way where they could still vote you in if they know it's a guy's day coming up. Then again, we talked about this before. We're kind of expecting a girls' day to happen, or like a dual partner day to happen at some point.
Yeah, I just it doesn't make any sense to me, this choosing. But what I did see is there's a hall brawl next week. Yeah, I'm ready.
It looks like an exciting episode next week. I think as a whole, This episode, I rank it um 6 Nam abs out of 8.
Okay.
The daily challenge
Okay.
itself rocked. The fights were pretty good. The big TCT shenanigans were hilarious. It just kind of fell
So
short
good.
at the end.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 5 out of 8 Nam abs because the elimination just it fell short so much, and I guess I was expecting, given like last week's preview of this week's episode, I thought there would be like a physical altercation between Josh and CT, or that like Josh would try to like throw a punch at CT or something.
Yeah,
I was hoping for that.
I'm real annoyed we haven't seen a fight in a few seasons.
Yeah, I let me see someone get DQ'd for throwing a punch.
Violence is never the answer,
It's not,
except when it is.
except in reality TV. That's that's the only time I think that you should wake up and choose violence is on reality TV. I'm trying to be entertained. You know?
Yeah, I agree. One of the things that I'll say is that in the trailer for this season, there was a scene where Teresa is crying and she's like, "Why did they put me in a house with this person?" And Wes is gone now.
Yeah, I thought it was Wes the whole time.
Yeah, and we haven't seen Teresa much this season in her big return. Maybe we're gonna see some of those people like the Teresa, the Darrell, and the auxiliary characters like the Gabby. Maybe this is their time now that Wes is gone, because Wes
Yeah.
leaving opens up a ton of screen time to a lot of people, and it's helpful because he's been a scapegoat the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, and I'm kind maybe it'll finally be Nanny versus Teresa.
God, that's a storyline that I just love, and I
I
that to
miss it.
me that was just one of the all-time great 2 season arcs ever, where they
Oh,
did not
yeah.
like each other, and it culminated in a physical pole wrestle between two women of like similar strengths. And oh man, that was awesome.
And it was like Naya was in on the whole like ragging on Nani thing. I'm team Nani always. But like it was interesting to see Avery come in as a rookie and was like, like because the season
It
before that,
it was
Nani had hooked up
weird.
with Johnny Riley.
I like
Avery's
that
that
side of the house better, but I just didn't like the Nani slander.
same.
Oh man, what a time to be alive.
I know. I gotta.
We
I'll probably rewatch it a second time, third time, fourth time, just this month.
we will be reviewing next week's episode on the podcast again on Wednesday. I hope you guys enjoyed this recap of the episode. We really enjoyed the episode, I think.
We did, and I hope everyone has a good whatever holiday they are celebrating.
Yeah, at least take advantage of the holiday splendors. Get some good food.
Yep.
Get some good eggnog. Apparently, people like eggnog. I'm not into it, but
Hard pass. You don't want an eggnog quesadilla?
oh
Weird.
god.
No.
If you can, subscribe to this channel on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you can.
All
Follow
of it.
Nikki on Twitter at the Nikki Sin, at the NikkiSin.com, Instagram at the Nikki Sin, Alan
All of it.
Aguirre on Twitter at the Alan Aguirre, and some other stuff. CaffeineConfessions.com.
A lot of following to do.
A lot of following.
A
Whatever.
lot of likes, subscribes.
Yeah.
It worked for
Comment.
David Dobrik. Like and
Yeah.
subscribe. Tweet me at David Dobrik. Just this time type in Caffeine Confessionals.
All right. Have a nice day, everyone.